Joe, I don't know if LinkedIn's algorithm has changed, but I keep getting fed things like, here's how to raise your rates, here's how to do this, da 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 da. And so I thought I'd share a funny story that ties into how to mentally prepare with raising your rates. And for people that don't know, I contract with Lifestar. So I have been, gosh, now for 6 years, which is crazy. And so sporadically over that time, you and I have had a rates conversation. And we work very well together. I'd consider us buddies too, in addition to us working together. And I mentally prepared for these conversations for like 3 weeks in advance every time, practiced in front of the mirror like people tell you to do, hopped on these calls with you, shaking, so scared for these conversations. And it's you. Like, I feel like I can talk to you about anything. I do talk to you about anything and everything, not even work related. Like, you help me give me parenting advice. And yet I walked into those calls trembling and I had this whole script and I was like, this is what I'm going to say. And I think the couple of times I've done this, it started with, Joe, I hate this conversation. And I like immediately just before I said anything, I was like, oh, I'm so nervous, which hopefully the authenticity helped. But I was so scared. So scared. My poor husband had to deal with me the days leading up to it. And the times I've asked you about the rate increase, you've said, okay, sounds good. For weeks of panic. Weeks. And it got me thinking, I people need to get out of the if they think they're worth the value that they think they are, they should not be as panicky as I have been. I had no doubts that I thought I was worth that rate increase, but for whatever reason, I was still in my head about it. And I realized anybody I've ever asked to increase rates for, they're not the problem. People need to get out of their own way. They are the problem. And so I started thinking, what are some helpful ways we can help people come across these conversations? Do you have any? I've been talking this whole time. I haven't even told you the story about how petrified I've been. Um, but before I go on for some recommendations, do you want to chime in with anything?
Well, I'm going to go look in the mirror and see if I'm scarier than I thought.
That's the thing. You are the most like Stacy is the mama bear of the team. You are the papa bear of the team. I but yeah, it's a scary when with people that don't have the practice or the reps, it's a scary thing to do no matter who you're talking to. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it can be very frightening to, potentially put a business relationship at risk, right? And asking for more money is something where somebody could say no. And then it might not necessarily, put the relationship or anything, but it might be, oh, now they're not happy with what I'm paying them. And that, there's a risk. I mean, I don't want to underplay the fact that this kind of conversation does have some level of risk. It's just not nearly as big as I think people tend to make it when they
Mm.
contemplate doing it. So it's your 3 weeks of panicking beforehand was really unfortunate and unnecessary. But anyway, so good. So when you finish explaining this to everybody, you can use it next time, but not too soon.
Not too soon. No, I we have some time, don't you worry. Well, so I think again, the real blocker is I think the fear of loss where you were like what you were saying. I don't think it's even necessarily the price, but just like the fear of not getting it and kind of changing the relationship, I think is a big one for people because especially if a good working relationship, you don't want to put that in jeopardy. Um, but then I was like scared you're gonna lose the client. Um, just coming off like thinking like imposter syndrome, like feeling like you aren't actually worth that. Even though deep down you think you are, there's that fear of like, oh, I don't know if I am. And then also, I think some people feel greedy. People that I've talked to, they feel like they're asking for something they shouldn't deserve or something. And I think people need to reframe. They need to separate their worth from their price. Like, like the number reflects the. I just think. Well, one. Let me back up. I think you'll need to do their homework, and they need to see what other people are charging, and make sure it's competitive. Like if you go in there and you're like, oh, I charge 75 an hour, and now I'm going to start charging 250 an hour. Like Why? And justify that and do that research and see what other people are charging. If the going rate is 250 an hour, let's say, but you're coming from 75, don't don't jump to 250. Like work your way towards that. That is a big leap. And people need to, I mean, companies that you contract with, they need to budget for this stuff too. So don't be discouraged if you go in there and are trying to make this big leap and then they don't take it, because sometimes that's unreasonable.
Yeah, and I mean, I think another thing to think about is that, again, going back to the life first business concept, you are some people, or a lot of solopreneurs, I think they want to work, they want to do certain kinds of work for certain kinds of people or companies. They want a certain kind of relationship. And, let's say if somebody loves working with nonprofits. Well, the work they're doing for that nonprofit might be worth 3 times at a for-profit company than a nonprofit can pay for the same thing. But if they want to, if part of their goal is working for nonprofits, well, they're going to have to think of their pricing in the context of their target customer. And by the same token, I mean, somebody like you could probably get more money going contracting for some big company, but you will have a very different experience. You'll have probably a lot more pressure, a lot less of a, kind of feeling like you're a crucial part of the team, making changes. So it's just, there's a lot of considerations there, but that's why when you say do your homework, you're absolutely right. You got to really do your homework. You can't just go out and go, oh, that person's getting 250 an hour. I'm getting 75. Well, what is that person doing for whom, and what does their life look like? And then you have to think
Yeah.
about it from that perspective. But, maybe the 75 should be 85. And if you do some apples to apples, you can kind of get an idea of what you're worth. I mean, and let's be honest, solopreneurs almost always underprice themselves.
You don't even know what I'm about to say, but that was such a good segue, because I think people see like their rates are almost like oh gosh, what am I trying to say? They use rates as boundaries. And I think a low rate isn't generosity. It's a quiet resentment that you'll eventually charge someone for. But maybe I'm talking in circles right now. But I think your
No,
price protects
I
your
get it.
capacity to do, yeah, your price protects your capacity to do good work though.
You're absolutely right. I mean, if you charge too little, uh, you wind up being you can wind up being very busy because a lot of people want something, for a discount, and you wind up having to work and be very busy in order to pay the bills. So that idea of raising rates to something that is appropriate is, is the kind of thing where you can then work a number of hours that makes sense for you for the life that you want and do good work for people. Because if you're
Yeah.
working 65, 70, 80 hours a week, you're probably not giving everybody your best quality work.
You have to calculate that cost of staying cheap, like whether it's lost time, kept capacity, like I would say resentment even. Um, because yeah, you like find that balance. Again, the life first business, make a living, obviously, but do the good work. And that's the thing, do the good work. I feel like so many people think that they deserve a higher rate, but they have nothing to show for it. Like, why do they deserve a higher rate? Have they done anything that makes them go above and beyond? I think people also just need to you will go into the conversation a lot more confidently. And I do think I do good work, but you'll go in more confidently knowing that you have like the numbers to back it up. Maybe just have like something on the side to be like, look, I accomplished XYZ. I moved the needle, dot, dot, dot. Have something that you can reference when you go in for these conversations, because not only will it give you a conversation point, but you'll go in much more confidently too. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I keep seeing all these people posting about like pay or increasing their rates on LinkedIn. And I was like, for people that have never done that with clients, it's a really scary thing. And more than anything, I wanted to make sure that they didn't feel alone, but I also want to make sure that people are being reasonable and that they're coming prepared and that they get out of their own way. I think I was being reasonable. I think I was prepared, but I didn't get out of my own way. I was so scared. So I think those three combined can lead for a successful rate increase.
And one other thought on this is that one of the things that you can do mentally well, it's actually more than mentally, but it helps you mentally, is raise your rates with new customers and do that for a little while. right? Now you're charging your existing customers, $65 an hour, or $3,000 per project, and you're charging, the new customers 3,500 per project. And you do that for a while, and then you say to the old customers, well, gee, my rates are this now. I've been kind of giving you the old rate for a year or 6 months or whatever, but I'd really like to raise the rates now because it's just, my costs have gone up and this and that and whatever else. And that can give you that confidence that if new people are paying the higher rate, why wouldn't the old people be willing to pay it? But it's, that psychology of, gee, I've always gotten it for this price. But, nobody, for a long time, inflation was so low that, I started a business in 2004 and we didn't raise prices. And I think 2020, when we sold it, we still hadn't really raised prices. And because inflation was so low, it was just hard to justify. But, in the last few years, with inflation being more back to normal or high for a while and now back to normal, it's like, gee whiz, prices are going up. I need to raise my rates because prices are going up. And people get that. And we need to, so that's another thing to think about. The fact that, when you set these prices 3-4 years ago, a dollar bought X, and now, you need a $1.10 to buy the same thing 4 years later. It's not that hard to justify a rate increase.
Yep. Yeah, but I just, I don't know, for people that are doing Life First businesses, one way that you can get a Life First business is by increasing your rates so you don't have to work as many hours. So I just wanted to give some food for thought for people that are trying to pull that off. But listeners, thank you for tuning in today. And if you're considering that, if you know somebody considering asking for that rate increase, share this episode with them. Hopefully it helps inspire them. And again, makes them realize they're not alone and being nervous, but just making sure they're also prepared. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube, and give us a 5-star review. Not only does it give us a big ego boost, but it also helps us spread the word to other solopreneurs who are trying to create a Life First business. And we'll see you next time on the Life First Solopreneur.